Namaste. Personality disorders are among the most difficult to understand in terms of pathogenesis, and it is equally difficult to treat them. One approach to understand the pathogenesis of personality disorder is the Valley Junction model, developed and processed by Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. We all know he's a writer and a psychoanalysis expert. And we did get a glimpse of it in our personality disorder video. And today we will discuss and understand it in detail with none other but the man himself. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, why is it very difficult to understand the pathogenesis and healing of personality disorder?
Personality disorders are non-episodic disorders, and therefore it is very difficult to figure out what is the precipitating factor behind them. Most of them start after puberty or early adulthood and continue thereafter for a long time, almost unbroken. They become almost part of the personality where the person starts feeling he does not have a disorder, he is just different. This is a very part of him. Secondly, because the precipitating factor is not clear, it's very difficult to analyze the pathogenesis of personality disorders. Because if something is starting just after puberty or in early adulthood, unless somebody is psychoanalytically oriented, and that too oriented in Freudian theory, it will be very difficult for the person to explain how till 5 years of age the psychosexual development happens and all the problems which are there unresolved from 0 to 5, sort of a lid is put over them when the latency period starts from 5 to 12, and after 12 the problems which are unresolved from the time of 0 to 5, they resurface with renewed vigor. Now that is a classical Freudian formulation. Those who are not well versed with Freud or don't believe in Freud, they find it very difficult to explain any personality disorder for that matter in terms of early childhood orientation. Secondly, if one believes in a non-Freudian psychoanalytic school, then also it is not easy to explain the genesis of a personality disorder. Thirdly, the impairment, which is what makes the person suffering from it seek treatment and which allows us to label it as a disorder, that also is recognized fairly late. Till one is by and large a student, uh, one by and large gets away unless it is very acute. Fourthly, it is what has come out in normal discourse is normal exploration in psychoanalysis and other forms of psychotherapy and other schools of psychology is slightly different from what DSM tells us. When we go by the DSM classification of personality disorders, they almost give the impression as though they are mutually exclusive. However, neither they are mutually exclusive nor they come only in one flavor as stated in DSM. Many times you find the same person qualifying for more than one personality disorder. And we have also found in research that there is a overt personality disorder and a covert personality disorder. For example, take narcissistic personality disorder. There is something called overt narcissism and something called covert narcissism. So these mixed personality disorders and the overt and covert nature of personality disorders and the fact that many of the personality disorders which were there in DSM 1, 2, 3 and 4 and are now dropped in 5. But many psychologists believe that they were rightly there and are wrongly dropped. All these issues put together make the analysis, understanding, pathogenesis, diagnosis, and healing of personality disorders very, very complicated in conceptual terms.
So, sir, how does the this very important value junction model in the pathogenesis of personality disorder?
Uh, there is some disturbance. Am I hearing the question correctly to say how does the Valley Junction model describe this disorder? Hello.
Uh,
Okay, I think
Hello?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, fine enough. So, uh,
Yeah, my question was, yeah, you understood it right.
okay. So, let me go in two ways. How does psychoanalysis in general explain the personality disorders, and how would the Valley Junction model describe it, analyze it? So, the first part is in psychoanalysis, we have two or three explanations for personality disorders. First is it may be because of learning from parents in the environment, that the reward and penalty situation was such that certain behaviors were encouraged, certain behaviors were not encouraged, and therefore it is over the time learning because of the unique reward and punishment kind of situation, a very behavioral kind of orientation. The second way we would look at it is to say that there is some trauma involved, trauma of the real outside world, the type of trauma that we talk in trauma disorders, that there is a real trauma from the outside world which has led to creation of a particular faulty personality. This trauma has a corollary argument that there may not be one trauma but a series of traumas which they call as the complex trauma situation, which also can lead to personality disorder. Third is the more classical psychoanalytic explanation that the personality disorder may be a dysfunctional way of resolving the problem of the Oedipus, or the personality disorder may be a dysfunctional way of resolving the early life split being open or early life object loss. So this is how classically psychoanalysis used to explain the genesis of personality disorder. Kohut had a slightly different explanation. He would say that a faulty self is created because of certain reasons, and it is this unhealthy faulty self creation is what leads to a personality disorder. What my model, the Valley Junction model, does is this: it is based upon the object loss phenomena as the starting point of pathogenesis, but it details out step by step using attachment theory, Kleinian theory, and the defenses which are used by the psyche to explain the process of formation of a personality disorder. Very interestingly, from a single phenomena of object loss, you can see how these 10 personality disorders develop. Because the object loss phenomena is the same, but the way every individual responds to it is different. And based upon how the individual responds to it, a typical personality disorder comes out of it. So let us look at a situation first, that object loss happens, but the person is strong enough to endure it, and therefore no personality disorder happens. That is one situation. Second situation, the person is constitutionally not strong enough, and therefore object loss leads to development of a personality disorder. Now let us explore this part. This is what Valley Junction model is all about. So let us start with the pre-stage or the prior stage, not the pre-stage, the prior stage to the development of personality disorder. We say personality disorders develop, we are talking about Valley Junction model. Under the Valley Junction model, personality disorders develop because of object loss, but this object loss happens after a reasonably good experience of having the good object. And that is the reason why the object loss does not lead to psychosis. It leads to personality disorder, and it stays there because the personality disorder also is a sort of equilibrium. A dysfunctional equilibrium, but still an equilibrium. The person is able to live his life with limitations, of course, but still he is able to live his life. He is not crippled like a person with psychosis. So what we say is that usually the person had initial 3 to 6 months of very good experience with the good breast or the good mother, and thereafter the object loss took place. The breast was no longer available or the mother was no longer available, either physically or emotionally. Now let us look at how one by one the sequence of events happen and how slowly it ends up into a personality disorder. So step 1, a person has good experience with the breast and the mother, and therefore has a relatively good stable core internalized. Step 2, the object loss takes place. Once the object loss takes place, a series of events happen, many of which are explained very well by the Kleinian school. That the moment the object loss takes place, the first thing the child does is to hallucinate the object. So we see small children making suckling movements at the breast even when the breast is not there. They are dreaming, they are hallucinating about the breast. Very soon the child realizes this is not enough. It does not satisfy him, does not provide him emotion and survival support it needs. So then the child becomes angry and attacks the breast in fantasy. He feels it's a bad breast which is present because he cannot understand the concept of absence. So he attacks the bad breast with all his rage, sadism, and torturous nature. All aggression and sadism is put upon it, and the more imaginative and sadistic a child is, worse and more brutal and mutilating the attack is. After that, nothing happens because the object still does not come back. So then a feeling of fear starts coming in, that now that I have attacked the breast will take revenge by attacking me worse than the way I attacked. So this paranoid fear and anxiety starts. A feeling of powerlessness also starts because the child has used up all the power and nothing has happened. So he sees the limitations of his power and a severe feeling of powerlessness comes in. A realization comes thereafter that actually the loss has taken place, he has been abandoned. So the feeling of loss and abandonment come in, and with that come another wave of anxiety and intense pain. That now the child realizes the loss is real and he is powerless. So the feeling of object loss comes in, the feeling of abandonment comes in, the feeling of intense pain comes in, the feeling of inferiority comes in, and thereafter a feeling of helplessness comes in. So all these feelings come up. The feeling of anger, followed by paranoid fear, followed by powerlessness, followed by loss and abandonment, followed by pain, followed by inferiority, followed by helplessness. Now, the psychological state in which the child was before the object loss took place, if we call that a normal state X, and now the child after the object loss is in state Y, where all these negative effects and these negative schemas are active. These negative feelings will give rise to negative schemas. So the helplessness will give rise to the inferiority will give rise to I am not good enough. Helplessness will give rise to I need the other. I cannot just be on myself. So each of the feelings will give rise to a particular template and a way of living henceforth. But coming to the state, before the loss took place, the child was in psychological state X, and now suddenly he is in a state Y, and the state Y is full of negative effects. And therefore, it is almost as though you were walking on a road and you were at the ground level, and just something next to you was a valley. And deep inside the valley, there is some state. So you fall from the ground state into the valley state. So before the object loss took place, the child was in a good state X. And now the child is deep into the valley where all the negative effects are there. Okay? So I call this state to be the valley state, where you were moving on a normal ground and suddenly you fall below into the valley state. Okay? And in the valley state, all these negative effects are active. The effect of fear, the effect of rage, the effect of powerlessness, helplessness, inferiority, loss, pain, abandonment, all these elements are active. Now this psychological state is very, very uncomfortable. It's almost unbearable because in childhood, all these effects are very, very strong effects. Now, because this valley state is unbearable, you have to come out of it. Now, the normal healthy way would be to come out of the valley state and get back to the baseline and get back into the normal state. Okay? But it is not possible for most people to get out of the valley state into the normal state. If that becomes possible, no disorder would develop. You would successfully live through all those emotions, cathart them out, and after the catharsis come back to normalcy. But most people don't have that kind of a affect tolerance to live out those intense emotions. So you have to escape from those intense emotions. They are unbearable. The escape happens by using certain defenses. And based upon which negative effect is the strongly felt effect, on which defenses have to be applied, and what defenses are being applied, they decide what kind of personality disorder you develop. For example, in person A, let us say A, B, C, D, E are all in the valley state. Right? in person A, the fear of the attack of the bad breast is the strongest element, and he is able to repress it to some extent using the defense of repression, but some small amount of that effect keeps coming out, and therefore the person develops a paranoid personality disorder. That the paranoia is 95% repressed, but 5% keeps coming out, because that paranoid fear was the strongest in the valley state, on which repression was applied, 95% successful. But still something comes out, and therefore you develop paranoid personality disorder. Another person, he has inferiority and powerlessness as the strongest element in the valley state, and he uses the defense of reaction formation. So from inferiority he goes to superiority, and he develops a narcissistic personality disorder full of grandiosity. A person C, who also starts from the same root, that he also has inferiority as the strongest element, but his constitution is such that he does not have confidence to use reaction formation and go into narcissism. So he accepts his inferiority and starts looking out for somebody narcissistic, and therefore himself develops a dependent personality disorder. So we see how, based upon which is the strongest element in the valley state, and based upon the constitution of the person, what kind of defense can he operate on the strongest element in the valley state. Based upon these two factors, he results in some personality disorder or the other. And if you have many elements in the valley state which are comparably strong, comparable to each other in terms of strength, you may end up in a mixed personality disorder. That there may be a front, and behind the front there may be other personality disorders or features of other personality disorders which are there. So this is how the valley junction model explains how from a single phenomena of object loss all the personality disorders can emerge. And it is like a railway junction, that from a railway junction you have Eastern Railway, Western Railway, all start from there. Similarly, from this valley state, the valley state is like a junction state, and from the same junction state all the personality disorders can emerge.
So it's fair to say that the valley junction model explains, I mean, it's applicable for all the personality disorders, right? Pathogenesis of all personality disorders.
Yes. Let us take examples. For example, in DSM we have 10 personality disorders. Okay? So let us go one by one. Schizotypal. So schizotypal has an element of aggression, element of paranoia, and the element of being different from others, and that has its roots in the paranoia of the valley state, which continues as it is. But in response to object loss, the person has pain and defiance against objects, so he tries to be different. This being different also is a defiance, also is a tactic, coping mechanism, hopeful coping mechanism, where one says indirectly or silently, I was what I was and I had object loss. So let me be something odd and eccentric. Maybe I get back the object. So his being odd and eccentric is also a coping mechanism to get back the object. It is also a defiance to express his anger. Also out of pain, he refuses to be what the world wants him to be. Take one from the cluster B. Okay, in cluster A, we have also seen the schizotypal, we also saw paranoid. How in paranoid, the anxiety of the attack of the bed rest and the anxiety of abandonment, they are partially repressed, partially they come up and therefore result in paranoia and the paranoid personality disorder. Let us come to cluster B. In cluster, this is cluster A, schizotypal paranoid. Sorry, schizotypal and schizotypal is cluster A, narcissistic is cluster B. So we took a look at how in the valley state, inferiority is strong. Using defense of reaction formation, you get into narcissistic personality disorder from inferiority to grandiosity. Now let us say cluster C. Cluster C, you have paranoid personality disorder. So anxiety from the paranoid anxiety of the attack of the bed rest, anxiety of abandonment, partially repressed, both this anxiety partially coming up, therefore the paranoia and the paranoid personality disorder. Take another example of cluster B, histrionic. That you realize you were natural as you were and object loss took place. So in order to prevent future object losses and regain the lost object back, you try to become more interesting. So the response to object loss and the pain of object loss is to do something very outlandish, garish, to attract attention and get those objects back and keep oneself always as an interesting person so that the object does not leave oneself. So the interpretation of object loss by that person is that I had an object loss because I was not interesting enough. So the response is, let me be interesting enough by doing something dramatic and also being slightly seductive. So you can see how you can look at schizotypal, you can look at schizoid. Let us say schizoid. In schizoid, the pain of object loss leads the person to conclude that relationships lead to pain, therefore I will always keep a distance. So for him, the object loss and consequent pain, they are more important in the valley state compared to inferiority or compared to the attack of the bed rest. So for him, inferiority and anxiety are less important. The pain of relating is more important. So that is how he develops a schizoid personality disorder. So you can likewise go and describe all the 10 personality disorders given in DSM-5 as emerging out of the valley state, which itself emerges out of object loss.
So, of course, this is how you explain the conceptualization of all personality disorder. But then how does this Valley model help in healing in terms of psychotherapy?
It's very interesting because uh, very few people have a conceptual understanding about pathogenesis of personality disorders. I am not saying all personality disorders can be explained by valley junction model, but I do believe that 60 to 70% of personality disorders can be explained by valley junction model. Second, in absence of this kind of clear pathogenesis, therapies mostly are in a trial and error mode. Behavioral therapists are in a practice mode. And ISTDP therapies, they often find huge amount of exits of patients when they try to bring out the effect. What Valley Junction model does is, it provides a conceptual basis for therapists to proceed with. Second, I have also tried a very innovative method. After the first few sessions, where you do a broad Powusian work and slight amount of psychoanalytic work, I actually have discussed this model with the patient. because by then, after the case history and after the first few sessions, it was clear that this model does apply to that person. And I took one session to explain to the person the model. Then the person took 1 week to see if this model really helps him explain his life, real events in his life. The person came back saying that this indeed is the case. Not only conceptually it fits in, deeply speaking, he also feels inwardly that this is the right explanation. And thereafter, it was very easy for us to move ahead because the person knew what to do. He knew that he goes into the valley state and then certain behaviors come out, or most of the times he is in a state which is actually a most of the times he is into a state which is actually a defensive action against the valley state. For example, somebody may have a narcissistic personality disorder, and if somebody opposes that person or even slightly rubs his grandiosity, the person may flow into rage. Because the moment grandiosity, a crack appears in the grandiosity, there is a fear of falling into the valley state. So the core difficulty in personality disorder healing is this, that the moment you try to disturb the existing pathological equilibrium, the fear is of falling into the valley state where unbearable emotions exist. And because unbearable emotions are something you are leading the person to, he goes into rage or he just shuts you off and goes off into his own way. But if he knows the whole mechanism, it becomes very easy to do therapy because we can tell him that the moment you try to undo the pathological equilibrium which is existing, there will be some fear of falling into the valley state, and at some stage of therapy, he will have to bear the unbearable effects of the valley state. And if he cognitively knows them beforehand, and if you work with some affect release models, maybe psychoanalytic, maybe ISTDP, maybe psychodrama, maybe emotion centered therapy, or whatever you are working with, you can reduce the intensity of the emotions in the valley state so that the analysis and feeling and re-entry and revisit to the valley state becomes easier. And this is the way we of course do the classical psychoanalytic psychotherapy. We also do ISTDP, we do all those things. We also use holistic healing. But the very fact that we have discussed the whole thing with the person, he understands it, he is able to apply it in his real life wherever he can to some extent, and we know one by one we are going to clear up the valley state. This very methodical and cognitively enlightening road I have found to be very good and very smooth in personality disorders, and it has very low number of people ejecting out of therapy, which otherwise is very common in personality disorders, that the moment you start touching the core, they start leaving the therapy. And because the core is the valley junction state where unbearable emotions exist. So this is the way in which the valley junction model provides explanation, a conceptual orientation, and also facilitates very cognitively enlightened and collaborative therapy.
Right. And so you mentioned holistic healing. So how does that help in the, I mean, what role it has to play in the Valley Junction model?
Uh, in the valley junction model, we discussed in the last lecture, in the valley junction model, essentially we are dealing with object loss and the consequences of object loss and defensive action thereupon. So For object loss, we can use idle therapy. We can use visualization. For overcoming and cathartic out the emotions, we can use psychodrama. We can also use certain Indian methods like Avishkara, which is a very tantric method. We can also use certain sports, certain active meditations, like for example AUM meditation, Om meditation. Right? We can also use pranayam, Reiki and pranic healing to reduce the blockages in the valley state. Because in the valley state, huge amount of negative effect is blocked. And Reiki, pranic healing, acupressure, acupuncture, they are very good in unlocking the block energy. Then we also have homeopathy, which has some good promise, which makes quite some claims, and many people see the benefit of it in personality disorders. So all these are holistic healing measures which go along with our classical psychotherapy for personality disorders. And what Valley Junction model does is it makes everything so specific because we know the cause. So we are not giving just Reiki or pranic healing broadly on the disorder. We know exactly which effect we are giving this to. So the results are much better.
Absolutely. Hmm. So this is relatively, of course, it's your model. I mean, you are someone who's brought this up, and any success stories you would like to share with us, or
Yes. Uh, Obviously, I cannot reveal the names of people, but uh, I have used it very successfully on people and reduced the rate of ejection by quite a significant amount. And I have used it for narcissistic personality disorder. I have used it for histrionic personality disorder. I have used it for paranoid personality disorder. So I have used it for dependent personality disorder. And by and large, the results have been much better than without this model. So for me, if I was to consider what I did as research on a sample of one, I find very good outcome of this model, substantially better than not using this model.
okay. And so, what is the future? How do you think going forward? How do you develop this model to
Uh, yeah, I think this model will develop in many ways. One is this model will be used for disorders other than personality disorders also. Because object loss can lead to lot of things, not only personality disorders. If object loss was not preceded by very good breast experiences, the same object loss can also lead to psychosis. So object loss per se can lead to a lot of things, and my belief is therefore that the Valley Junction model will explain many disorders other than personality disorders also. One. Second, we have to figure out the constitutional factors which are at work. That if two people get into Valley Junction state, and for both of them inferiority is the strongest element in the valley state, then how come one person uses the defense of reaction formation and becomes a narcissist, and the other person uses acceptance and becomes a dependent? So the constitutional aspect of personality which is at work, that is something we have to look at in two ways. One, why certain elements in the valley state are strong. There the constitution comes in. Two, on the same element, why different defenses are used. That is again where the constitution comes in. So the effect of constitution on the valley junction model is something we have to develop. The third is, how do we use holistic healing in the light of valley junction state? Because if there is some quick way which could be found, maybe not to cure, maybe just to lighten the load, but even lightening the load will be a huge addition and acceleration of the healing process. So trying to figure out how certain customized techniques in Reiki, pranic healing, acupressure, acupuncture, Tai Chi or pranayam can be used for certain elements. For example, if in some person the element of inferiority is the most acute, then what Reiki technique will best work? That kind of a customized healing in the most efficient and accelerated way using holistic healing techniques is something that is the third element we have to look at. The fourth element is uh, empirically validate this model. That does this model prove to be a better healer than its absence? So that empirical validation of this model. And fifth is, how can we use this model in conjunction with more intensive, quicker therapy approaches, like for example of ISTD? Because in many cases a person with a personality disorder might go into ISTDP and eject out of it because it is too much. The same person may go into psychoanalytic psychotherapy, and when you actually start reaching the core, he may eject out. Because any touching of the valley junction state becomes unbearable. And therefore, how to make the access to the valley junction stage more bearable, more understandable, more gradual and incremental, so that we don't have explosions and aggravations, which are very common in dealing with personality disorders in a variety of approaches, be it psychoanalytic or ISTD, or maybe other approaches also. So this uh, understanding of how to make it gradual, calibrated, smooth and bearable, at the same time how to quicken it as much as possible using techniques which we already have for quickening. That I think is one of the core areas for further development of this valley junction state. And lastly, if somebody is interested in the neurological part, assuming that it's validated empirically, psychologically speaking, next step would be to see why this is happening. So that becomes a neurological question, which is outside the bound of psychology, but I think it will still is very profitable issue for somebody to focus upon.
To me, the clear benefit I feel is, people not leaving the therapy when it is about to benefit them.
Right.
I think that would be the most immediate something which can help.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. It is always nice talking to you and learning many more things. And today we discussed the Valley Junction model of personality disorder. And in our coming episodes, we shall discuss many interesting topics in psychoanalysis. Do visit and write to us at hvindia@gmail.com. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.